Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Well, today we got to do some catching up because, as you know, I have been out of it for about the last month. Things around here just got crazy, and I just didn't have time to work on videos and trains or anything else as far as that goes. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of things that I want to share with you today. Hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of things that I want to share with you today. And this goes back to the manual switches that I showed you to use with your DCC circuit breakers. And if you remember in that one, the ones that I had gotten from China, they were not very bright. And it was mainly because the ones I ordered were for a higher voltage than what the boards actually provided to operate them. So I went back and went to AliExpress again, and I did a bunch of searches, and finally I found some that were rated at 3 to 9 volts. So they say 5 volts average, basically, which is right in line with what we need. So let me come on in here and take a look at the difference in the light that's provided. So what I have here are two 1.5 volt batteries in a holder, and that's going to give us 3 volts to power this. So the very low end of what these can take. And I've just got these clipped up here. So this is the one from last week. And I don't know if you can see that there's any light at all. There is a red ring there. I can just barely make it out myself, but you probably can't see it under all of these lights. So let's switch over. This is one of the newer ones. So I'll light it up, and you can see that is nice, bright light there. So this is with 3 volts. So they're saying an average of 5. And most of these devices that I showed you in the video were rated at about 5 volts output. So we're going to get a much brighter light than this. So I think these are the way to go. Now, it's with AliExpress, it's a matter of just doing the searches over and over and over again, because I tell you, I can't remember how many times I looked for this stuff, and then after the last month's video, I went back, dug some more, did some more searches, and finally found one with a lower voltage range for the LED. So this is what it is. You know, I can't guarantee you any of this, whether or not it's going to be available now, but this is what you need to look for right here, and this is the stock number for it. I don't have the company because there were probably a dozen different companies with these available. So I just picked the lowest price one at the time. So you can see here it is, and you can see 5V, 5 volts, I assume. And then look in here real close. I'll give you a shot. Whether or not you can read that fine print, I don't know. Do a screen capture and zoom in on it. You might be able to make all that out. But it says that these are made by the Yuqing Wanlin Aquarium Equipment Company Limited. But at any rate, that gives you an idea of what to look for. So you can find these, and they're priced it's a very cheap protection to use. So go back and take a look at that video. I'll put a link to it above me here and at the end of the video. And depending on what you're viewing this on, the video link might come up. It might not. I know on an iPad it does come up without any problem. On a Roku TV, you're not going to see it, I don't think, unless you go into the description or something like that. So your best bet is just look it up. I'll put this other information into the description today so that you can take a look at that and know what to look for if you didn't want to do a screen capture. Okay, the other thing, let's talk about CurrentKeepers from SoundTraxx. Okay, so this is the new SoundTraxx CurrentKeeper 3. And I'll show you how small this is. Now you can see you get your CurrentKeeper and 2 pieces of shrink wrap tubing here. And the reason that they give you the shrink wrap tubing is it comes with a plug here so that you can plug it directly into some SoundTraxx decoders. But there are some SoundTraxx decoders, such as the Economy UK ones that I've been using, that are still have to be hardwired. So you can just cut that little clip, that little plug off, and solder the wires together and use the heat shrink tubing they provide to protect it against short circuits. So that gives you an idea of just how big this is. Now I will point something out. It only has a 470 microfarad capacitor in here. So that's not a lot. You've got to remember that. So we're going to try these out. Okay, so you can see here, this is an older Atlas Jeep 7. You might not be able to make that out, but it's got the Cato stamp on here because this is one of those early ones that was made for them, for Atlas by Cato. So it has a very high efficiency 5-pole skew wound motor in here, and it's well lubricated. I've checked it out and it's running very well, and so we'll give that a test. It has a SoundTraxx plug-and-play diesel decoder here installed in it, and as you can see, the little CurrentKeeper 3 just plugs in here directly. Now I will test out and show you the CurrentKeeper 2. So you can see the difference in these guys is considerable. Okay, so this one has one 470 microfarad capacitor. This one has 5 capacitors in here, and I can't tell what the capacitance of these guys is in here. So we will test this out over on the layout, just like I did previously with other Stay Alives. And so we will test it with the locomotive itself, and then we'll test it with the little CurrentKeeper in it and see how it works. I'll test it with the CurrentKeeper 2, which is this size, not a bad size. Might fit up here in the cab, I don't know, something like that. And then because of the small rating of this capacitor, they sent me 2 of these. So what we will do is, I'm going to wire these up in parallel, and then we'll find out how that works, because that way you do double your capacitance. So let's take a look at that. First, let's go over to the layout. We'll run this without the capacitor. We'll run it with a CurrentKeeper 2, and then we'll test the CurrentKeeper 3 by itself, and then we'll wire them up together and see how they work in a pair. So let's go over and give this all a test. Okay, so first off, I'll show you what I've set up here to test this. I've put 4 strips of tape here across the rails. Now these are spaced out so that they match the spacing on the wheels on all 4 axles. Okay, so it is possible when the locomotive comes through here, like so, you can see the little blue pilot light went out. That's because all wheels are on a piece of tape. So this doesn't really replicate a dirty patch on one rail. It doesn't replicate a dead frog. It replicates a total loss of power through the wheels from the rails. So we're going to watch this little blue light, because that is an indicator of whether or not power is getting through here. So let's see what happens when we run the locomotive across the tape. Now we're moving at speed step 4. Okay, so you can see the locomotive stopped dead in its tracks as a result of losing power from the rails. Now, I'm going to go ahead and install the CurrentKeeper 2 in here. Okay, so you can see I've installed the CurrentKeeper 2. It's the bigger of the 2 we're looking at. Plugged it right in here to the board. You can see the pilot light's on, and I'm letting it charge up a little bit. So let me move it back, and then we'll run forward and give it a test. I'll bring it forward just like before at speed step 5, I think. So as you can see, with the CurrentKeeper 2 in there, it's got plenty of capacitance, so it doesn't even skip a beat going across that tape. Let me put on the smaller CurrentKeeper 3. Well, I've given the CurrentKeeper 3 some time to charge up. I've given it the 2 minutes. Actually, it's coming up on 3 minutes now. So we'll bring it up to speed step 5 and bring it across the tape. Okay, we're bringing it forward across the tape. Watch the little blue pilot light. That's important. Now you can see it stopped a little bit, but the pilot light did not go out. That's because that little CurrentKeeper 3 was keeping things going. Watch it again. Again, notice the little blue light. So we got a little bit of a stutter there, but the little blue light stayed on. Okay, coming forward, watch the little blue light right there. You can see it stalled for just a split second, but the blue light did not go out. That means that the CurrentKeeper was providing power, apparently just not enough to run the sound and the motor simultaneously. Let's run it again through here at speed step 6. Again, a brief stutter, but it kept going. Same thing at speed step 8. Okay, so what I want to do now then is I'm going to take the other CurrentKeeper I have and add it onto this one so that we have twice the capacitance. Okay, as you can see here, I've wired 2 of these CurrentKeeper 3s in parallel. So they're not in series, they're in parallel. The blue wires are connected and the black wires are connected. So I've given it about 3 minutes now to charge up, which should be more than enough. So let's see how it does coming across here. Okay, here we go. Bring it out on speed step 6. See the blue pilot's on. Again, stumbled on the tape, but the blue light stayed on and it kept moving. Coming back through. Okay, that time it went through without any issues at all. Okay, coming through again. No problem. Okay, that was on speed step 5. So it looks like down at around speed step 5, it starts to do the stumble. This is speed step 6. Stumbled a little there too. Coming backwards. And that was at the same speed step. So for some reason, and that's typical. So coming forward, speed step 6, same as before. Stumbled a bit. Coming reversed. Stumbled. Speed step 7, we'll test that. No problems. Coming back. Again, no issue. Let's try it on 6 again. No problems there. Come back on 5. So it looks like down at around speed step 5, it's just losing a momentum and not making it. Speed step 4. Come back on 4. So again, a stumble, but the blue light did not go out. Okay, so what did my experiment with the CurrentKeeper 3 tell us about using it with HO scale locomotives? Well, it would appear that one alone is not going to be sufficient to get reliable stay-alive activity going across dirty pieces of track like I represented by just putting 4 strips of tape across the track. And that was blocking power to all of the wheels on the locomotive at the same time. As you could see, it did, keep the pilot light on, but still, it would stall completely on the tape, particularly at low speeds. Now, you get it up to where the flywheel effect helps it some, then it'll cruise on through without any problems. Okay, so then adding a second CurrentKeeper 3 in parallel with the other one, so that we are in effect getting 940 microfarads, it was able to get across the dirty track, the pieces of tape, without any problem, as long as I stayed at speed step 6 and above. Below speed step 6, it would stall out, but the pilot light would stay on, and then the locomotive would be able to restart. So it's able to get you across a very short piece of dirty track. Wiring these up in parallel gets you up to about 940 microfarads, and that gives you enough to reliably get across the pieces of tape or dirty track when you're at least going speed step 6 and above. Now below speed step 6, once you get down to 5, 4, 3, then it does stall going across the tape. However, the blue light does stay on, the blue pilot light stays on, and the locomotive is able to restart and go ahead and go across the piece of tape. So I'm not sure why that is. It's interrupting power. There is still power going to the decoder. You could see that because the pilot light stayed on. And there's probably enough power in here to keep you going for about half a second. So if you get on something that your wheels are going to be stuck on for more than half a second, it's probably going to die out on you. But otherwise, it's worth a try. They will fit in some very, very limited space situations. So you can get these in just about any locomotive, including in-scale. So they're very well worth trying out in in-scale locomotives. Unfortunately, I don't have any in-scale locos, so I can't test them in that. For HO scale, though, I would say that with a pair of them working in parallel, you're okay to do some crawling without too much problem and getting over dirty bits of track. But for large expanses, you're still going to need a much larger CurrentKeeper 2 or 1 in order to get across those pieces of track. Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week will be the 4th of July weekend, so I'm going to be totally out of touch for the entire week from Sunday through the 5th of July. So I'm not going to be doing one that weekend. So the next video will come up the following week, the first full week in July. So in the meantime, have a great week. Have a great holiday weekend. Be safe with those fireworks. Don't blow your fingers off. And we'll see you here again with another video from the DCC Guy. Bye now.